We're going to give you another treat now because we haven't had this bird since 2012 in us here. This is a pied flycatcher. I know it's not difficult to ID when you just see the chicks. They're in a nest box. There are 6 of them and they're doing really well. As I say, the last time we had a pied flycatcher nest was 2012, and before that was 2006 in Devon. So this is only the 3rd time we've had live cameras on this nest. As I say, it's a nest box. It's in the woodland, and inside you've got the 6 chicks that, as I said, are doing incredibly well. There's the male going in, and it's great because we've often seen the male and the female, so you can clearly see the difference. The female is a lot duller than the male. This is not a bird you're likely to see in your back garden unless you happen to have an oak woodland in your garden. So it's great to see them. As I say, it's a long time since we have been able to watch this nest, a nest like this, and we think they might be first-time parents. Our nest watchers have said from the plumage they can see that they're probably quite young birds. So they might be inexperienced, but it appears that they're doing incredibly well so far. And we think that those chicks might fledge next Tuesday. So that'd be great to see them fledge. Quite a lot of action, actually surprising in the rain. Let's have a look at the pied flycatchers. Not so surprising that they're still active. I say they're active, now they've just fallen asleep because they're in a nest box. So they're obviously not affected at all by that rain. As I say, we'll keep our eye on those because they're doing very well and they might fledge at the beginning of next week.
They've got some very unusual breeding behaviour, haven't they, the pied flycatchers? Sometimes males have 2 females on nests at the same time. More of that to come. But let's go to another whole nester that we've been following now, at the pied flycatchers. They're not in a natural cavity, they're in a nest box. We put nest boxes up because sometimes there aren't enough natural cavities. There are 6 youngsters in here. Here's a view of them live, and they're being fed by both of the parents, the male and the female. Extremely busy, bringing in a great range of different invertebrates. Look at that, the male feeding the birds here. You can see they've already got their feathers in pin on the wing. Bit of exercise. They're not going to stay young for very long. They're going to be out within about 15 days of hatching. And you know, today, Mick, I wondered how long a pied flycatcher might live, you know, the longest ever. What do you think?
Oh, 8 years.
16
no
years.
Way,
yeah,
16?
A female was rung in Wales in 1996, and she was still going strong, breeding in a nest in 2012. So one of those little chicks there could have 16 years ahead of it. But of course they are migrants, they don't stay here in the UK, so there's lots of perils facing them before they get back to breed. And we think that this pair here are first-time breeders, so they were last year's young that have come back and started to breed for the first time.
Lots of movement. What are we going to go to, Chris?
Well, let's go to the old pied flycatchers. We were looking at those last night. You know, they've got fluffier scents. Look, actually, I'm not joking. Look at the feather on the right-hand side there. Last night when we were looking at them, they were still in pin, and now the feathers are beginning to emerge.
That's what happens with young chicks. They grow.
I know, but they're only in that nest for about 15 days. So look, yeah, progressing really well. But do you know what? Last night I asked you, how long do pied flycatchers live?
Yeah, and you reckoned it was 16 years.
I did, and I was wrong.
You fool.
What a fool. Heather Coates got in touch with us on social media and pointed out that that was an error, and it was due to a ring having been misread. It was later corrected. And do you know how long they do live?
Well, I think I guessed something like 6 years.
No, she tells us it's 9 years and 7 days is currently the record. So thank you very much, for Heather, for letting us know that. We always like to be stood to be corrected, and if you get your information like I did from the Hindu Times, you're bound to make a mistake.
That was a huge exaggeration from you, wasn't it? Oh well, moving on.
What about our pied flycatchers? Again, they were in a nest box. We were watching those last week. There were definitely 6 of these birds. On Friday, lots of wing flapping, exercise taking place, a prelude to fledging, of course, and as you can see, those feathers are growing down. A very busy nest. Both the adults were coming in and provisioning them with lots of different insects, although they didn't seem to bring very much in on that occasion. Yesterday, Sunday, 8:49, one of them has a peep. This is the bravest and the boldest. Likes the look of the outside world, doesn't like the look of its siblings and that stinky nest, and thinks, I'm out of here. Wise move. Now, under normal circumstances, we would expect the rest to leave, if not during the rest of the day and the evening, but then certainly today. But I can tell you that none of the rest have left. They're still all in the nest.
It's unusual, that, isn't it?
5 youngsters plus the 2 unhatched eggs which are in the bottom of that nest.
Up until a few minutes ago, one pied flycatcher gone. Let's have a look at our live nest now. Where is it? Middle on the left, go to that. We can see there's only 4 chicks left. We did have 5 at the start of the programme, so what's happened since the start of the programme and now? Well, this has happened. We've had another fledging. Can you believe it? Isn't that great? If only we'd got that actually happening live, that would have been brilliant, wouldn't it?
We were probably talking about them whilst it was happening.
Yeah, we probably were.
8 minutes past 8, wasn't it?
Yep, and it takes a while, doesn't it? It's sticking its little beak out, having a look into the big wide world, and off it goes. Will the others go before it's dark? Unlikely that they'll go once it gets dark, but we've got, another, hour before that happens?
Hour and a half, I guess. Yeah.
What about the pied flycatchers? Can I just say, we've got a little nest box behind us. And one's been darting in and out. It's been lovely, hasn't it? But we saw them yesterday, and during the show, some of them fledged. So let's have a look at that nest box live. And look, it is empty. Quite pleased to say that I did say they'd all be gone. I at least got that right. But I tell you, we didn't get one thing right. They were fledging during the show, and we thought there was just 1 left. But in fact, there were 2 left. So what happened today? Well, early this morning at 6:46, we saw one of them go up to the hole in the nest box. Peek out, that's what all its siblings did. Looked out onto the world. The adult came in, fed it something to tantalise it out of the nest box, and eventually it decided to go. What about the one that was left? It's been flapping, it's been thinking about it, then at 7:06, it sticks its head out of one side, it sticks something out the other end, out it comes, it lightens its load, and finally off it goes. So that's another nest, all of them successfully fledged. I love it when we have a nice, happy, successful fledging.
Successful fledging there, but we're very keen on the pied flies because they have some interesting mating strategies. So we put a camera on another nest to see if we can find out what's going on there. This is it live. We can cut inside. You can see it's got 6 youngsters, just like the previous one. 1 unhatched egg in the foreground. That's not going to hatch now. And they're all looking healthy, I've got to say. But there's been plenty of activity that we've been monitoring. So here you can see the nest on the nest box, cameras on the outside. A male comes in. That male doesn't have as much brown on as the one we watched previously. It might be slightly older, perhaps a year older. Female comes in too, feeding the chicks. But then look at this. Male comes back, lands on the tree, but look, this male has a ring on its leg. If you were looking carefully, you might have noticed that the previous one that entered the box wasn't wearing that ring. In goes the female, feeds the chicks. The other male has a quick look, he's thinking about it, but then disappears. And just to prove a point, here's the male that we're watching. Look, no ring on the legs. Definitely 2 males in attendance at this nest. Now, this one brings in a buff-tip moth, famed for their remarkable camouflage, looking like birch twigs. Didn't work for this moth, though, did it? Bird found it. Tries to put it into the mouths of the chicks, simply too big. All of its dust comes off of its wings, makes a terrible mess, eats it himself, and then disappears. But we will be keeping a close eye on this nest. Look, there's one with the ring. It's come up to the hole, thinking about going in. We know that they have extra pair matings and they're polygynous, so sometimes males service more than 1 female.
We'll keep our eye on that, but not just because there are 2 males. There's also a bit of jeopardy, because that nest box and the noise inside didn't just attract 2 males, it attracted a predator. Let's take another look, because the predator is a stoat. And you can see, look at it, it's looking. It can hear what's going on in there, and it's looking right at the entrance to the nest. But look what else turns up. A male sparrowhawk, one of your favourite birds.
Best bird in the world. Best bird in the world.
That is right outside the nest box. Now, this is obviously an extremely dangerous predator for those little chicks.
And the adults.
Is it going to just sit there and wait for the adults to return, wait for the chicks to come out? Or is it just going to fly past? You want more fledging? I'll give you more fledging. We'll go to our pied flycatchers. Here they go. This is what happened on Sunday. We're a bit late showing you this, but they all went out of that nest box very, very quickly. There we go. There's the fledgeometer again. I'm rather liking this fledgeometer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 6. 6 of them fled and out they go. And what's so interesting about pied flycatchers is they'll migrate to West Africa, but when they come back, they're imprinted to the area that they were born, and they will return to the same general area. Males, 4 kilometres, females, 6.6 kilometres. That is incredible that they go all the way to West Africa and then they come back to pretty much the exact spot that they were born in.
Remarkable
Incredible.
stuff.